right, well, welcome back to another edition of Inside BBI with John and Eric on a very early Saturday morning. I'm John McDevitt. With me, as always, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. Eric, it's too early for beers. I don't know what you started with, so I'll just start us off. It's just a little cranberry, a little grapefruit. It does have some gin in it, and then a little bit of lime juice. I had to do something.
We're going to have an intervention on you, John.
Dude, with my family.
John told me before we started I have to keep it real. So I have Dave Chappelle in the back of my head now. Keeping it real goes wrong. All right.
It is hard. It is hard, right? As Giants fans, you shared one in the preview for the Giants Chiefs game on BBI, BigBlueInteractive.com. 10 of the last 13 seasons, the Giants have started 0-2. And it's interesting. And I'm trying to remember the team that I saw the stat for. I think it's Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has started 2-0 for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy. We've 0-2, 10 out of 13 years.
There used to be a time when our team was good and we would be having streaks like that and conversations like, we'd be excited. This game coming up, and I know you told me don't get too negative.
No, but not. Yeah, let me be clear, because I know what's going to happen with a number of people. It's hard to do these as fans. We're not paid media, so we don't have to be objective each week in stories. We're fans making a podcast.
When the hell has paid media been objective?
Well, you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they don't go into it like, oh,
I know.
You know what I'm trying to say. At the same time, though, it is, if you take the history out, it is 2 games into a season that could change depending on. We saw some sparks, and that's what we can talk about a little bit more. Focus on things we want to see or we need to see.
Look, if the Giants upset the Kansas City Chiefs, you and I will be having a different conversation on Monday or Tuesday or whenever we do our next podcast. Yes. And they can upset the Kansas City Chiefs.
Absolutely.
So that can happen. But my God, Jesus, it's
just do it, right? Just do it.
Just do it. And some of this is just starting to wear on me 15 years later, Eric started. But it's like just little things are bothering me. When the Giants media department tweets out these cute little videos about, name your favorite singer or whatever. It's like, will you just win a game? Stop doing all, and I know why they do it, and they have to engage, and there's money to be made, and this is a business and all this other shit. But this even goes back to when Odell was here and the pregame stuff. They would show Odell warming up and doing the one-handed catches in the end zone, and isn't this great and all that. Win a game. I don't care about the cute little shit. And you and I will be talking about the Giants, and we want them to win, and we want to feel good. Just win the goddamn game. And if they win a game, I don't care if they win the game 10-9 or 40-41. I don't care if I just win. Just win the game. Don't do something stupid at the end of the game and just win the game. And they can win this game. So my rant's over. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So I actually decided. I decided first thing this morning. I was outside with the dogs real quick, and I was thinking, how do I want to do this today? Because and we've talked about this numerous times, and you can absolutely confirm what I'm about to say. Eric and I never plan out any of this.
No,
we don't talk ahead of time. We're going to do this, and this. That's not how we do it. And even for myself, anything that I say, I don't script it. I don't write it out. I've never done it. I don't do it in my job when my job is sales. I don't do that there. I don't do it anywhere else. I don't script anything.
We're winging it. We're winging it this week.
I like to think of it as I just speak. Because that's just the way I am. It's just the way I think about things. So what I wanted to do today is someone made a great suggestion. Eric and I were talking about it earlier, and just to separate things real quick, they said, well, you should do an outside the BBI one, which is focused on the league. So for the moment, I just want to let's look across the league real quick. Then we're going to talk about the game, the kind of what's going on this week, what we've seen, what we've heard, and then we'll talk about the game itself. Across the league, there's some things that actually kind of played out what we talked about in our preview if the Giants had actually won one or even both of their games.
I knew you were going to go down this path.
No, I'm just saying it would have. No. My point is it would have played out if they had done their part.
Yes. Jaden Daniels is hurt, and
There's injuries across the league at quarterback. That opened the door to things we talked about. The Giants have 3. At some point, somebody might come a-calling for one of their quarterbacks. That's now on the table possibility, especially with the Giants losing. Jane Daniels is injured. You just mentioned it. He's injured. He's out this week. The Vikings are missing J.J. McCarthy. He's out.
I thought you were going a different way, though. I thought you were going to make the argument that had the Giants been winning a game or two, the NFC, there are things going on in the NFL that would put the Giants in an advantageous situation.
I was.
And, yeah.
I just was taking it one step at a time.
Oh, okay.
I was laying out all the injuries that are across the league. There are teams that are there are teams out there that aren't that good. I mean, we're playing a Kansas City Chiefs team this week that's already lost 2 games as well. There's teams out there that have to start winning pretty quickly or they could fall behind. But there's other teams that have not played as well as you would have thought. Washington itself, quite frankly, if the Giants had any offense in week 1, that game's a lot closer. Green Bay doesn't make a bunch of mistakes. They blow Washington out.
But you and I see that Washington game way differently. I think Washington clearly outplayed the New York Giants, and the Giants were lucky that that game was as close as it was.
That's the same argument.
I think what's happened,
I disagree.
In the league, what I think it was more damning that Washington doesn't look as good as they did against the Giants. So we looked better against Dallas, the offense, but we're 32nd in defense. So you and I are just going to disagree on that.
I think the point is, if you're take this with a grain of salt,
right.
the way I'm going to say this, because it does seem like I'm saying it to you, and I mean it in general. If you go in with an absolutely negative standpoint, then that's a perfect take. But if you take out the Giants aspect out of it and just look across the league, that plays out in many games constantly. The Giants were not blatantly outplayed in that game. They just didn't do a goddamn thing offensively. Nothing. They did absolutely nothing offensively. Washington didn't do a whole lot more in this game than they did in the first Washington game last year when the Giants, they scored 7 field goals against us, but they moved up and down the field.
I think Washington clearly dominated both lines of scrimmage in the game.
Again, the score says that it wasn't that way in the middle of the game. I understand.
Right, and I know that, but you and I have seen lots of games, both going against and going for us, where one team clearly was outplaying the other team, but the score wasn't reflective of that. And I felt that was one of those games. And so we'll see with Washington.
But my point is, they played poorly against Green Bay too, though. Green Bay
played terrible.
Them out.
Washington got smoked by Green Bay.
In fact, if you think about it, Green Bay Washington game was similar to the Giants Cowboys game. Green Bay dominated the entire first half. That game should have been over probably at halftime if they didn't make a bunch of mistakes. They owned Washington. They could have had 30 points in the first half.
But they were still up. But they were
barely up. The Giants were winning their game all the first half, but could not put points on the board. We scored a ton in the second half, and there's things we can talk about to that later. But my point is that plays out in many games across the league. Minnesota had the same thing against Chicago. They were outplayed most of that game. All of a sudden, they win it in the fourth quarter. They shouldn't have won the game. They shouldn't have been in it. Chicago could not put them away. So my point is, though, those things play out. Make this league the parity part of it. There's cream at the top. There's a large portion of the middle.
Sure. We all know that. But if you're going to try to convince me that the Giants are still not as bad as they are, then I'm not trying to convince you of that. On this date, on September 20th,
I'm not trying to convince you of that. But what I am saying is everything else that I said was true. The fact of the matter is there's so much opportunity in the league. The Giants squandered that opportunity. Now, we'll get back to that, but I'm not ready to just go, there's shit. I don't think the Giants are one of the 5 worst teams in the NFL right now. I don't believe that at all.
I do. Until proven otherwise.
And that's where we disagree.
Yeah. They're 32nd in defense. They're 32nd.
So what?
So what?
Dallas is 30. Dallas is 31.
Yeah.
Kansas City's defense isn't at the top. Look at their pass defense. It's not rated that high.
John,
there's a lot of teams.
We're not going to agree on this.
No, I disagree.
Agree on this. Giants right now are vying.
I know you hate the team at the moment. I
have a hard time seeing the Giants win 3 games this year, but we'll see.
Okay,
we'll see.
Fair enough.
I know you're the eternal optimist with this.
No. I'm a realist. The fact of the matter is, 2 games have been played, and the rest of the league's not that great. The rest of the league's not that great.
Which is even more damning for the New York Giants. The Giants should have beat Dallas. They didn't beat.
But did you think they were going to win? Okay, so let's back up, because this is part where I'm having a problem. where I have a problem with a lot of Giants fans. Did you think they were going to win week 1?
Yes.
Did you pick them to win
Yes.
week 1? Okay. Did you think they were going to win week 2? Because I know
Yes.
the answer to that. The answer is no.
Oh,
no.
you mean
you
before the season?
You picked
Yeah.
them to
Before
lose
the
week
season,
2.
yes. I thought they had a good chance to go 2-0. After I saw them play in week 1, I knew they weren't going to beat Dallas.
But see, that's not true. That's not true.
They did. They lost to Dallas, John.
But that you could not have said that was true halfway through that game. There's no way you looked at that and said this is the same thing for week 1.
I thought even after Malik Neighbors caught that touchdown, they're going to blow.
That's different.
No, it isn't different. No,
because you can't just say you thought they were going to lose.
It's the exact same thing.
I asked you this question on the last podcast, and what did you say? It hurt more because in the middle of the game, you thought they were going to win.
I thought
you know what? They changed
to win, but I didn't think they were going to win. Okay. I didn't think they were going to win, and I was right.
Okay. Well, we're going to disagree on some of it because I'm more of a realist. I've seen a lot of shit there. There's a lot of things to take from it.
0-4 in 2 weeks, and you're going to start saying, well, they could have won here and they could have done this.
No, I'm not saying they would have, could have. I laid out the league, and you instantly go, you tell me why any other game, even though it's similar to the Giants, doesn't mean anything.
I don't want to be Mr. Negativity here, and I've been accused over the years on BBI of being too Pollyannish and too negative. So I feel like I'm.
So you're both.
I feel like I'm in the middle because both sides think I'm the opposite. But right now,
that's funny.
And I said this last week or the week before. I don't remember. That's express. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me once.
Sure.
Well, Giants fool me 1,252 times. Shame on me. I'm not falling for it anymore. Win some games and I'll stop being negative. But until they stop this, it's been 15 years now. It's ridiculous. They can't win the NFC East. They can't.
That's true.
I mean, 16 of 17 games they've lost to Dallas. Do you know how humiliating that is?
Oh, I have a pretty good idea. I was there.
It's humiliating. and the way the Eagles beat up on them, and to be 0-2 now, 10 out of the last 13 seasons. And how many times now are we dead by Halloween? And now it's September. We don't even get out of September. So anyways, I'm not going to be all, yay, go Giants until they look. I want them to win desperately. I can't. I'm a much happier person when the Giants win. Win. Stop making excuses. Right now, a lot of the stuff, and I've noticed this with a lot of BBI fans and Giants fans over the years, when the Giants losses start to mount, they don't want to hear from the head coach. They don't want to hear from the coordinators. They don't want to hear from the players. They don't even kind of want to tune in and listen and really hear anything about the team. They're sick of it. They're like, fire everyone. I can't stand this. God damn it. And when they win, it's the opposite. And so I know people are sort of, it's wearing on everybody because right now it's like, I don't even want to hear Brian Dable's press conferences. It's bullshit. He never says anything. They said the same thing about Joe Judge. They said the same thing about Pat Shermer. They said about McAdoo. They said it, unfortunately, at the end of the Tom Coughlin era too, because we were like, but we would gladly go back and be like, today, like having a 500 record today would be, that's how beaten down we are. Having a 500 record right now would be like paradise to a Giants fan. That's ridiculous. And Giants fans out there are suffering with somebody brilliantly called, I wish I could remember who said it on BBI, from Stockholm syndrome. They've got threads now saying, God, David Gettleman was such a good GM. I mean, it's unbelievable. Then they want people back like that weren't good players. That, I mean, they might have been decent players, but they weren't like players on championship teams or anything like that. And we've got guys that people wanted off this team, and now they're pining for them. So it's like, and if you don't know what Stockholm syndrome is, look it up. I mean, but Giants fans, a lot of them are suffering from it. So that's how bad things are.
Here's my problem with a lot of that, right? A lot of people have selective memory. 2011, the Giants barely made the fucking playoffs. Barely made the playoffs.
Yes.
Like, in fact, they were pretty bad. They were pretty bad in the middle of the same thing. Well, they were 10-6, so I'll give them that.
But they had to. But they had to. But they had to
win.
get that
We had to win
Bills
that game
right,
to put
get
it,
into the playoffs.
that cemented it, and then the last
Yes.
game was immaterial, but that actually played out differently, which is good.
Right.
Everything since 2011 though has been weird. So here's the thing that where the problem that I have is, right?
Weird is a choice word.
Well, here's the problem that I have.
Shitty
Everybody
is
has an
better.
answer, and I know what's going to come back to, and you may even have the same answer. Everybody says, fire this guy, bring this guy back, get rid of that guy. We've fired coaches fast. We've kept some people too long. Dayball would now be in the long situation. We've changed GMs. That hasn't changed. So everybody wants to now go just blame the owner. I don't know how you can necessarily blame Mara, though, for the fact that they blew the game on Sunday. They outplayed Dallas for a good portion of the game. Their offense, when the Giants wanted to in the second half, they scored anytime they wanted to, except for overtime.
And so did Dallas.
Dallas.
Oh, don't jump! Don't
listen. The Giants.
The Giants every drive in the second
Jesus
half.
Christ! Did you watch the fucking game? The Giants got a turnover from Dallas and then did nothing with it. The Giants had every opportunity to put nails into them to completely shut it down. But when Dallas took the lead, this is the part that's different. Any other time we played even a bad team, if they took the lead, we never came back. We didn't come back on them. Giants kept coming back. They were doing it. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, and this has nothing to do with ownership, the goddamn coaching staff goes, you know what? We're not going to keep playing aggressive now. We're going to just kind of hold, even though you literally say in your press conference, well, we know the guy has a leg. So I'm like, doesn't that mean you go after him? You don't back up and go, well, there's this line right here that we think we can hold him to. That's not ownership. That's a fucking idiot. That's an idiot who made a decision that doesn't make any sense. So my question to you then is, what do you change? What do you change?
Coaching from the team, though, John.
No, but my point is, what do you change? Everybody's got a fucking answer for it. What do you change? Are you going to fire all the coaches? Are you going to fire the GM? Who's coming in? I mean, this is over a period of now of what, 4 coaches, 3 GMs. Right. So what are you changing? What would you change? I'm not blaming you. I'm asking you.
So what are you asking me? What would I do at the end of the year, or what would I do now?
I'm asking you, period, in general. Sure, end of the year, now, it doesn't matter. What would you do?
Well, what do you think the record's going to be at the end of the year?
I'm not going to back off what I said before, because then it makes the prediction ridiculous. So I still think they're going to end up around 8 wins.
And I think anyone who read my game preview on BigBlueInteractive.com, if you haven't been there, sees the dilemma the Giants are in. John Mara has never completely pulled off the Band-Aid. He's kept either the quarterback, the GM, and or the coach, and never has sort of said, we're going to just stop this piecemeal approach, and we're just going to start from scratch. And so that once again, they are in that situation because, and again, I don't know, from what I've seen from Jackson Dart, I'm impressed so far. So I'm not unhappy they drafted Dart, but they put themselves in a really uncomfortable situation again. And I highlighted in the game preview why it's an uncomfortable situation, because if they fire Shane and or Dable, now Dart's here, and the new people that they're trying to attract to come in want to be tied to Dart. And are they tied to Dart? Some people have said on the site, why would they be tied to Dart? They didn't give up that much to get him. I don't know if they're tied to Dart or not. My sense is John Mara and Joe Shane. I don't think I think John Mara is going to do everything in his power to convince himself that Shane stays. And I don't think Shane is going to want to pass. He's going to want to turn the page on Dart. That's my guess. So what would I do? In a way, I wish they had just fired everyone in January
at the end
of last year, so they're not in this position. Now they're in a position. I don't know what they're going to do, John, because in a way I don't want them to give up Dart, but somebody on BBI said incoming coaches and GMs aren't going to care if Dart was drafted by somebody else or not. I just vehemently disagree with that. Teams all the time have their guy that they want to bring in. Now they might say there's like an obvious candidate that's the obvious hot head coaching prospect that's out there, like the guy that was leaving Detroit. Was it Ben Johnson? Is that his name?
Yes.
He was the guy. The offense.
Yeah,
Say there's like a Ben Johnson kind of guy out there. Ben Johnson may or may not have wanted Jackson Dart, but we may be fortunate and find out that whoever that guy is likes Jackson Dart, and then it's not an issue. But if that guy doesn't like Jackson Dart and doesn't want to have anything to do with him, then that's a problem. So the question you're asking me is, that's the dilemma that they've kind of boxed. And this isn't hindsight. I brought this up 3 months ago. I don't know if you remember this, but I said, if they keep Dable and they draft a quarterback and it doesn't work out for the Dable, they're going to be in a really bad situation. And that's kind of what I feel like they're in. What I would do is going to be TBD. How's that for a cop out?
Fair enough.
I will feel differently if this team wins 5 or 6 games, which I don't see them doing. But if they win 5 or 6 games, then we might be having a different conversation. But right now, I don't have any confidence in, as a lot of us feared, I don't have any confidence in Shane Bowen. None.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So do we trust Brian Dable? Hard Knocks version, Brian Dable pulling out his phone, going, "Whoa, Shane Bowen's run defense is pretty."
That was
thing. Somebody brought that up to me today, saying, or on Twitter, they were saying, Brian Dable only found out about Shane Bowen by checking his phone. I said that was whole. You and I know this. That was all choreographed. That's not how they were doing this. What a stupid thing to choreograph, too.
Dayball wouldn't be the first one to find out.
It makes them look like they're ordering takeout. Oh, look at it. We got a defensive coordinator. This is great. Anyways.
The GM has a hand in signing those guys.
do you trust Shane? I mean, first of all, I don't think you like Brian Dable, right?
I have a real problem with Dable.
Okay. Yes. All right. Do you think there's a decent chance Brian Dable is gone?
Well, I've always thought that. Okay. Remember, I said they had to win to stay. Right. You said he might have bought a year because of Dart, and I said I don't believe that.
All right. So if Brian Dable stays, do you trust him to take a third shot at the plate in hiring a defensive coordinator? Again, knowing that last time defensive coordinators were turning him down because they thought he was in the hot seat. So he's way on a hot seat now. He's even hot. It's even hotter.
See, now I have to do the answer you just did, because if in that scenario, Dayball's won enough games to be retained, right? That's the scenario we're talking about. If that's the case, then I've got to assume the defense played better enough to win some of those games that they probably stick with him another year to not have coaching upheaval again. So it's all going to be tied to Dayball. If they win enough games and a defense plays decently enough. Now, again, let's also, I hate the defense. So before anybody gets mad at me about what I'm about to say, I'm not a Bowen person. But to give some credence to some things I've heard some other teams get credence for, the Giants have a bunch of new players on the back end of the defense. So they're literally doing some different things. They've done some different things up front, and I feel like they're still mixing and matching. And I'll get to what I would do going forward when we get to the Chiefs game specifically, because I would do this for the rest of the season. But I would assume he has to win enough games for him to come back, because if he doesn't play well enough, if the defense doesn't play well enough, the Giants aren't going to win many games at all anyway. So then Dayball's gone, and this is a moot point. If Dayball comes back, I think Bowen probably comes back.
Giant Grit made a really great comment at the end. He writes, he's one of the best posters on the site, and also an asshat at times.
Nice.
And so
in a good way,
I pay attention a lot to what he says, and he writes a lot of great stuff. But he had a sentence at the end of one of his long posts, and he basically said the Giants, and he was talking about Mara, and people think I always pick on Mara, but Mara makes things unnecessarily complicated. And this is an unnecessarily complicated situation again, because there are so many moving parts, because they did not pull the Band-Aid off. So go back to January. John Mara comes out and he says a bunch of different things, but one of the things he says is, I'm not happy about the defense at all. I don't like, which was, at the time, it was a kind of an odd comment none of us were happy about the defense, but the offense was even worse. So again, we're talking about a team that was scoring 15 points a game, but he singled out not Dable because he was the offensive coordinator, but he singled out the defensive coordinator, even though the defense was doing better than the offense. They were both doing crappy, but the offense was even worse than the defense. But he singled out Bowen without saying Bowen by name. So all of us thought, Bowen's gone. But a couple weeks go by, and it's like, they're clearly not going to fire Shane Bowen. So they go out and they get Bowen a lot of stuff. And they did this with Wink after Wink's first year too. They went out and they got Javon Holland. They went out and they got Paulson Adebo. They drafted Abdul Carter. They got a couple of defensive tackles. And then in the free agency, and they drafted a defensive tackle. They got him a lot of new toys to play with. That again, and people outside observers said, "Wow, the Giants' defense is really going to be really good this year." So here we are. We're 32nd in the league after 2 weeks, 32nd against the run, 29th against the pass. Dog shit defense, terrible defense. Just the worst case scenario. No one thought this was coming. Last year, Shane Bowen's defense was 24th, which was crap. But now we're at 32nd. So now we're in this situation that I think it's starting to dawn on everybody. Shit, we should have fired the guy in January. Now we're wasting another year on this, and he may drag Dable under the water with him, and Dable has no one else to blame. Maybe, I don't know. I'm assuming Dable had something to say in him coming back. So Dable, if that's true, and I don't know if that's true, but if Dable lobbied to have Shane Bowen come back, then he made the wrong choice. Again, if this turns around miraculously like Steve Spagnuolo in 2007, yep. Again, this will be different. But again, Spags was new then. This is the second year of Shane Bowen. I don't think that's the issue. I just think Shane's over his head, but that's me. But now we're in this complicated situation now. So if things deteriorate and the offense actually isn't the issue this year, but the defense is the issue, despite all this new stuff, all these new toys, this is what I get back to. When we get into January, what do you do now? Does Dable stay and you fire the defensive coordinator again? Or do you say, none of this coaching staff's working out, we're going to get rid of all the coaching staff? And then that's the Dart factor. Then how do you attract somebody? Is Dart going to prevent some candidates going, I don't really want to be part of this because they already picked their guy and I'm not sure that's my guy. That's what I'm worried about now, is that they've made this unnecessarily complicated. If they had just thought strategically back in January, that's why this is painful. And when you say, well, what would you do, Eric? Well, they've already kind of boxed themselves in here. I'm not sure what the right answer is. And that's
well, I think a point you're making that is interesting, and now I'll give credence to it. I'll agree to one point you're making.
Okay. No. You said a lot of things, but I'll agree with one.
No, but I'm talking about. Okay, sorry. I don't mean to lessen everything else. I'm taking this one piece that you're saying, and I'm running with this box idea. Yeah. The interesting part, and it's where I argued that I said he had to win games, and you said he probably bought 2 years, and that's the complicated part. If you're going to bring a guy back and he's really on he must win, it's weird. Somebody saying we're breaking up, but it's clear as can be for me, and everything I see
for me. Oh.
Yeah, everything I see is full. It's a full go.
Is anyone else seeing us like not? There's nothing we can do, anyways.
Yeah.
We apologize if there's an issue.
The mindset is what it is, right? If you bring those guys back, and the Giants they actually did a couple things that fit this weird sort of bipolar decision making, which is you brought in 2 veteran quarterbacks. That almost says we're playing to win this year. We're gonna go through this year. We want to win games. We got to kind of build ourselves back up. But then you draft a quarterback for the future at the same time. That's weird in a situation for a coach that may not be here. So you've really had 2 different trains of thought. If you clearly thought Daboll was the long-term guy, You get one veteran quarterback, you keep Tommy DeVito, and you draft the guy. That's really what you would have done to say, okay, we're going to build, and we hopefully get the guy we wanted, and that's what we're going to. You don't go get two veteran quarterbacks plus the guy you draft, but that's what they did. That says we're trying to win games, and we're thinking ahead, and we think Daboll's going to be the guy. So you've boxed yourself in slightly there. I think, quite frankly, let's forget the end of the year. I'll just jump ahead. This is what I would do right now.
Now you're talking about in
September. Right now.
Right.
The first thing that I would do is I would have if I'm Daboll, I pull the coaches in and I say, here's what we're going to do going forward. Everything's going to be about attack. If we lose, I'd rather lose because we are doing everything possible to win the game, not to try to prevent from losing, because generally all you do is prevent yourself from winning.
But I think they did that. He went for it on fourth down. He went for fourth down in the red zone. I mean,
they did not do that defensively.
They would have kicked a field goal.
Okay, so that's a different thing entirely. So let's back off that for
I don't think it is, though.
It is, though. That's a different mindset entirely. But I'm talking about, though, is aggressiveness. When you're on defense, you don't play one way up until the last 2 minutes and then go, now we're not going to. You continue to go after. You got to go after people. You got to dictate. Offensively, the Giants got to play like they did in the second half against Dallas. They took shots down the field. They were throwing to guys that actually were covered downfield. They were still throwing the ball.
But they were doing that in the first half, too. See, I think
against Washington, they didn't do that at all.
Point if you're talking about the defense, but I don't think I wouldn't confuse lack of execution with lack of will. So I think I think Daboll's always wanted to be attack since he's been here.
I disagree.
Well, I've never seen anything from Daboll since he's arrived here that has told me that he plays it safe.
See, now you're confusing attack versus being gambling. I'm not talking about the mentality of going for it on fourth. I'm talking about the way you choose to do things. You do things. The Giants started overtime off. What did they do? They throw a little pass out into the flat. Basically, they got the guy in shotgun. They've got a running back next to him. He just goes out to the side. That was not what you were doing the entire fourth quarter. You were going down the field. Guys are crossing. You're going deep. You're throwing. You just didn't dump it to the guy immediately. Everybody saw it coming. Everybody on Dallas saw that coming. And the Giants went into a shell. Defensively, they kind of went into a shell. You can't do that. The mindset has to be the same.
Yeah, we're going to disagree on that because I saw them take shots in overtime too. I know
that was after the fact.
I don't have a problem with running a screen pass. It just didn't work because screen passes were working so well.
That's not a screen pass, by the way. That's not a screen pass.
Whatever you want to call it. But I don't have a problem with that. But the interception deep pass. He also missed another deep pass earlier in that series. So I think they were attacking again. Your attack works more with me on the defensive side, but I don't think I think Daboll, if anything, Daboll is too his franchise is too oriented towards pass. I have envy when I look around the league now. The league is always goes in cycles. It's cyclical. And Carl Banks talked about this too when we had Carl Banks on, where he talked about that the good teams seem to have swung back to sort of being more physical and running the football.
Sure.
So when I watch teams like the Ravens or the Eagles or the physical or teams with big offensive lines that can run the ball, I have a little bit of envy now when the Giants running game is usually. We normally are like around 50 to 80 yards our running backs are if we're lucky in a game. I miss the days where Giants running backs were breaking 100 yards and we were controlling the line of scrimmage. So I understand what you're saying. I just don't think the issue has been Daboll not playing. I don't think when you say he's not playing it safe, he's not being aggressive. I think that's a semantic argument. But
I think if you believe, which you do, if you believe that they're just not physical, then you're not going to be told that attack is the answer because you're going to feel that your idea of attack is being more physical.
They can't be more physical because the line's not built that way. So they have to throw the ball. What I'm arguing with you, and again, we'll just have to end it with disagreeing. I don't think Daboll has been conservative on offense. I think they have been I think they've been aggressive.
Do you think they have a better chance? Do you think they have a better chance of scoring from the 15-yard line out or from the 15-yard line in?
Well, you know the answer to that, but that doesn't mean
Absolutely,
that
I know
has
the
nothing to
answer.
do with the argument that you're saying.
But
And
it
the
does,
reason is the
because the
reason I feel that the answer is obvious is because they don't have the offensive line. So in
No,
other words,
the
so
second
if
they
you
get
can't run the football,
I
the
disagree.
red zone offense is very difficult because once you
But
get closer in, so teams that have really good offensive lines do better in the red zone.
I understand that. But the point is, when you call plays a certain way, and then when you get inside and then you call it differently, the Giants invite, because you lack the physicality, you can't bunch up and think that that's going to now, just because you added more players, that's going to change, because so do they. And your offensive line is still the offensive line it is. You got to continue to attack in a way that makes it a little bit harder for them to just pound the line. If you go into it, and the Giants continually, and I've said this numerous times, they do plays based on positional group specific. They bring certain guys in and they run certain plays. You've literally told the other team what you're going to do. You've taken any ability of flexibility out of the equation.
Right.
They tried that weird fake, right? The tackle eligible pass, but they did it on first down, a down in which you didn't try to run one time. So nobody's buying when they see the guy outside and he's all by himself. You know somebody's going to stay with him, because the Giants haven't proven that you can just blow them off the line. So the Dallas or Washington didn't need to just bunch and stop the run. They stayed with the tackle. That play's never going to work. You've not established it. If you just went out there and just put two receivers out and just stick with a normal lineup, Washington can't just go goal line. They've got receivers they've got to cover. At least make them think. Go back to the 80s when it was a power league. Teams still put two wide receivers outside, even on in goal line. The Giants don't have to, inside the 10, just suddenly bunch up, bring in three tight ends, and try to play this weird game. Also, go back and look at it. I'm not wrong. They run everything to the fucking right. When Wilson always rolls to the right. That's the short side of the field. Everybody flows that way, and he's done it multiple times, and nobody's open. No one's falling for it. You've got to be varied on sides of the field that you're attacking, or you've literally told them what you're doing before the play ever happens. That's what I mean. Attack. You got to get up there, be varied. Don't tell them what you're going to do before you do it. You're not Philadelphia, who can just go, we're just going to blow you into the end zone and see if you can stop us.
I'm not sure I see what they're doing the same way you do. We'll leave it at that. So I'm not, there are elements of some things that you're saying that I do agree with, but I think the problems are bigger than what I think.
See, again, I understand that, because you deep down, you feel like they should have fired the staff and it should be different.
Well,
but
no, it's not just that. It's the way the team's built too. So again, I don't think the Giants. I don't think the Giants are always bunching things up and telegraphing what they're doing. I do think that I think that happens at times, but I don't think that's the overriding problem. I think the overriding problem is when you get tighter to the end zone and you're not physical up front. It's always harder because teams can use the end zone as an extra defender. So it's always harder. The closer you get, the harder it is to throw because everyone's bunched up. So, and when you can't control the line of scrimmage, like one of my favorite plays of the Dallas game, everyone loves the damn, and they should, the damn explosive plays. I loved it when they just had Scattaboo just ran right up the middle and got an easy touchdown. When's the last time we were on the goal line and we just made a hole like that and he just went into the end zone? That they got, so teams that can do that in the red zone have an advantage over every other team because the defense has to worry about the run. A lot of times when they're playing the Giants, it's like we got to worry about. Anyway, we can spend too much time on this, but
so I will say this too. The other part, though, what you just said, and I'm going to be a smart ass, so don't take it personal. But thank you for explaining to me the how the field shrinks down.
No, but
in my 55 years on a planet, I didn't know that.
But that's why I'm saying.
No, I told you I was being a smart.
I
told you I was being a smart ass. But my problem is the Giants cut the. Not only do you lose the depth, but they lose the width because they go everything center over to the right. That's where all their little passes.
Yeah, I haven't noticed that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just that.
Now the third problem, the third problem is actually Russell Wilson. He's never been good inside. He's short. Things have to happen fast, or he's going to be blocked. His view is blocked. You got to move him, and that's another problem. If you're going to do that, though, he's got to roll in either direction. You've got to use both sides. I actually think, and I'm going to say this part real quick. I think the Giants need to, when they get inside the 5, I think they need to pull Wilson and put Dart in, because now you've got the run option of either Dart runs it or the running back runs it, or you throw. Teams
Yeah.
won't know what to do with it. That's when we should be doing that.
And he's pretty decisive, and he's taller and all that. That's not a bad idea. It would piss Wilson off, no one, I'm sure.
Well, I mean,
look, all right. So let's back up.
Let's look at the case.
Yeah. Let's back up for a second, because I think we're all over the place. The Giants played week 1. The offense can't score, and the defense wasn't great, but a lot of people thought they did enough to keep the Giants in the game and win it. We get to week 2, and the offense goes off, and there was a run or two that was like really cool, but we can't run, but we're throwing. I mean, the Giants are leading the league in passing. Did you know that? We're leading.
Yes, I actually did some stats stuff.
Nuts. That, especially after what happened in week 1. But the defense completely falls apart. So the question is what do we get in week 3? Does the offense build upon, again, they're going to be playing a better defense and a better coach defense. So does the offense sort of stay positive and impressive, and can we move the football? Does the defense rebound, or does the defense keep letting us down? So that's kind of where we're at right now. It's like we're still in that mystery phase where we're not sure what we're going to get. And I think Neil posted, and I've gotten people, look, there are people out there that, and I'm not going to dismiss their opinions, even though I'm pissed off right now, that say things aren't as bad as they look. The Giants are getting better, and they're not as doom and gloom as you guys, or some of you, including me, are saying. They could be right, but I'm beaten down right now. But if they come out against the Chiefs and the defense rebounds and the offense, I don't expect them to score 37 points, but if the offense can score 24 points, they can upset the Chiefs. And you and I will be having a different conversation at this time, and people will be going, "Oh, now Eric's backtracking." But that's where I am right now, is to prove it to me. Show me you can do it, and I'll coach. And it just gets to the coaching part of it to me. One of the things that, and you've said this, you keep saying it to me, this is not directed at you, Eric. This is not necessarily directed at you, John. Those who hate the coaching staff but don't think the talent is that bad, so think the Giants can turn this around, are kind of losing me, because I think in today's league, in previous eras too, the coaching and the talent there's a synergy between them. And so you got to have kind of the coaching and the talent that succeed in the NFL. So if you think the coaching staff sucks, I don't see how you can be overly positive about the Giants prospects, because there will come a time in the game where the Giants will get out coached. It happened on Sunday. It's like, Shane Bowen, what are you doing? They only need 20 yards. Why are you giving them a freebie 20-yard play? And did you see Shane Bowen's responses to that?
I did.
I mean, they were
less than inspiring.
I applaud him for at least admitting culpability, but it was kind of like the way he said it too. It was like, yeah, I wish we could have done it better, and we didn't do it better. There didn't seem any emotion. There didn't seem to be any anger. It just didn't. It just seemed sort of, yeah, well, maybe we'll do it better next time. Oh, shucks. That's what it seemed to me. It's like, oh, that was inspiring.
The era of defensive coordinators.
I mean, come on.
We should have done it better.
It's like Kevin, man, on The Office. They thought I was dull. And I don't know. The other thing is, and I know I'm in a bad spot. My head's in a bad spot. I hope our coaching staff has a lot more energy and presence and personality behind the scenes than they do in these press conferences, because Dable's a dud. Kafka, I can't remember anything memorable Kafka has said in the entire time he's been here. You do want to talk about boring? Watch a Kafka Q&A. It is more words said with nothing actually being said than I've ever seen before. And Bowen comes across as Eeyore sometimes. So I just
Yes.
Anyway, so let's take some questions too. Because we told people.
And for this game, let's real quick before, and people can start putting questions if they want to. Andrew Thomas looks like he's going to be a game time decision. So and it seems like it's leaning towards he may play. That seems kind of the way
and rotate.
And that makes sense because, I mean, I can't imagine how a guy after that long of not playing could suddenly play a full game.
That's actually accurate, drunk. He does seem like he's a little drunk, doesn't he? It's not just me, right? He seems like he's been hitting the sauce. Okay. Which we shouldn't be throwing stones, I guess. It's John Brinks at 9:45.
Hey, come on! Why do you say it like that? I thought you would at least have something. And it's mainly grapefruit and cranberry, but there is some gin in it.
Yeah, mainly. Yeah, it's only a quarter gin. It's mainly vitamins. You're drinking vitamins. All right.
Yeah. How do you think you get through being a Giants fan after all these years?
Exactly.
So Thomas plays. Bo goes to the back. He's going to probably rotate in a little bit. Rest of the lineup.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. And that ensures that Bo is not really going to play another position, because if Andrew Thomas has to rotate, Bo is the guy that's got to be rotating with him. Unless you guys are calling for James Hudson to return. I don't think anyone's calling for that. The return of James Hudson. Right. So people are going to say, would you play? I want to again, I know I interrupted you, but I want to preempt the questions about Bo. If you firmly, and I think John and I believe that there's a chance that Andrew Thomas plays but doesn't play the whole game, you can't have Bo play another position in this game. Right?
I wouldn't think. I mean,
in this game,
my concern though is that both John Michael Schmitz has a toe injury and he's going to play, but we know how that goes. Toes can very easily become a real problem in the middle of a game, and now you're replacing your center. And that's a concern. We paid a lot of money for that dude, and he's been hurt a lot.
Yes, and he's hurt again. And Schmitz gets hurt every year. Schmitz has been hurt every year. So we keep drafting these offensive linemen that not only aren't playing well, I think the injuries are related to them not playing well too. We've talked about Evan Neal before and his plethora of injuries, but every year Schmitz has had multiple injuries. Schmitz is always on the injury report too. So, I know it's an issue because every time the coaches are asked during the off season or in a time when they don't really want to get into injuries, they'll talk about Schmitz being injured. That he was, and it's the same thing with Evan Neal, and Josh Azudu's always been hurt and all that. So anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. I apologize.
No, you're fine. Yeah. Actually, Chris, thank you for sharing that. This is perfect example of where Russell Wilson struggled. 1 for 11 for minus 2 yards inside the 10-yard line. By the way, for those who don't know, Russell Wilson leads the Giants in rushing.
Yeah.
He has 62 yards rushing.
Yeah.
He leads the team.
And Patrick Mahomes leads the Chiefs in rushing too.
And they're another team that has struggled. They have not done well. They scored 21 against the Chargers, 17 against Philadelphia at home. They have actually struggled for a while, going back to the end of last year. Their offense, something's not the same with those guys. That being said, they're still Super Bowl contenders until they're not, and the Giants are going to have a tough game to play with them. So we talked about the offensive line. Hopefully some of those other injuries don't pop up. Receiving is interesting too, though. Gunner is our returner. He's injured. Sounds like he probably won't play.
Sounds like he won't.
It's extremely questionable if he is, but it sounds like he won't. Now you got the guy we picked up from
Gibson.
The Jets probably being the returner.
Right.
Do you think now the Giants, I would think they would normally bring up Smith Amir Marset, but the problem is you probably can't because we have so many injuries elsewhere.
Many injuries at linebacker. So they only have 2 linebackers on the roster right now that can play. So they're going to have to bring up another linebacker from the practice squad and elevate, and they may bring up 2. So they're running out of linebackers. We're in week 3 and they're out of linebackers.
Every year we have one position that gets absolutely decimated. Would you play Abdul Carter at inside linebacker then?
I would move a couple of people around. I was kind of impressed with Brian Burns' sort of short stint there too. I would kind of do what you were saying. This is where I was again. I know it sounded like I was completely dismissing you about the aggressiveness thing, but I would be like, if I'm Bowen right now, I'm like, sorry, fuck it, and just attack. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down on my own terms and whatever. And in a way, and I've talked about this before, some of the injury situation might create an opportunity to do some crazy things that you normally wouldn't do, and that might confuse the hell out of your opponent. So I try to get those three linebackers, our three edge guys, on the field together as much as possible. And one of the ways I would do it is I would kind of like move Burns and Carter in and out of the middle linebacker position. I mean, how much worse can they be than the guy they just signed off the street?
Right.
I can't even think of it. Is it Bozeman? Is it
Bozeman?
Yeah.
And he's on the
Swayze
roster.
Bozeman. Yeah. Cue the Patrick Swayze jokes. But how much worse they can't, I mean, right? So why, and remember that one tackle Brian Burns had? That was pretty cool. That where he came up and slammed. I want to see more of that. That's one of the things we talk about, lack of physicality with the Giants on offense. The lack of physicality on defense is an issue too. When John and I grew up in an era where the Giants beat the snot out of their opponent and they didn't want to have anything to do with them. And that's been missing for years. So when the Giants hit someone, I want them to feel it. And I want them to go, damn, that was a tackle. Of course, the league is going in the opposite direction.
Right. But I think, Andrew, you make a good point about the DB, and the Giants do that some today. But if you go back to Spags' days here, the Giants would bring in, was it Deion Grant? Deion Grant would come in and he'd play, he'd basically be the third safety. He'd replace one of the linebackers,
right?
Because the Giants would continue to rush four, and they were like, we'll play a safety to cover you. I think the guys, in fact, and I want to bring I think Neil, I'll bring him up here. I would move Javon Holland up. I would let him be that sort of linebacker safety combo and put one of the other guys belting, on the field at safety to now give you, because Holland's a little bit bigger. He's definitely a better physical cover guy. So I would want him on Kelsey. By the way, Kelsey doesn't bring nearly what he used to the table. The Giants should be able to cover him with a safety.
Oh, John. Oh.
Dude, he is not. Watch him play.
I know that, but I'm just saying the Giants' history against any tight end is
there is that. But what I'm saying is, you don't worry about a linebacker on him. Don't try to match up that way. Just put a safety on him. Cover him with a safety.
The Giants have to get better play out of the safeties that they spent a high draft pick on Tyler Nubin, and they spent a ton of money.
Who's been kind of a
Javon
bust.
Holland, and both of them have been missing in action so far. They have to play better, and if they don't, you know what? I'm bringing in Dane Belton just as a message. I'm saying, you know what? You're not performing. So these guys have to start getting turnovers. They have to stop missing tackles. And again, Javon Holland's primary problem is he's not screwing up. He's just they're paying him more to do more than just.
You got to get the ball. We need to
get the ball. Tyler Nubin was a ball hawk in college, and he can't even get pass breakups here. And so they got to get more play out of that. And Paulson Adebo needs the rebound with a good game. The good news is this: we don't know what Xavier Worthy is going to play or not. He's questionable. But as odd as it sounds, and I'm going to knock on wood so I don't jinx the Giants here. The passing game of the Chiefs is nowhere near as scary as the passing game as the Dallas Cowboys because and it's not because of the quarterback, even though I think Dak really played really, really exceptionally well against the Giants. It's because the receivers that the Chiefs have been an issue. They've addressed it, but so they've got injury issues, and they're not the same caliber as the Dallas guys. So Paulson Adebo should have a rebound game, hopefully here, and the Giants secondary as a whole should have a rebound game here. And the Chiefs don't run the football great. So here we go. 32nd ranked Giants run defense against a team whose two running backs are averaging. The Chiefs are averaging like 3.9 is it 3 or 3.5 yards per carry? I think the running backs are. They're not running the ball very well.
They're not running the ball well. No.
Patrick, like I said, Patrick Mahomes is the leading rusher. And the other two backs are like, they're not generating a lot of yardage per carry. So we're going to find out what, if we can't stop the run against the Chiefs, we got a real big problem for the rest of the year. So we'll find out. You look like you're looking something up.
I was trying to go back to. I wanted the exact number. One of the things to kind of consider, Brian Daboll has 18 total wins as a head coach for the New York Giants. Of those, I believe 8 or 9 are against the AFC. So a lot of his wins have come. He's beaten the Colts twice. Beaten the Ravens, beaten the Texans. They've beaten the AFC teams, which is, if you're going to get healthy, good luck. You got 2 AFC teams right in a row. That your history says that your teams have played better against the AFC teams than they have against the NFC, where the bulk of your games are. So this is kind of important to them. To me, one of the things that needs to happen, and it's at home, right? The big thing for the Giants is the crowd it's going to be a very divided crowd to begin with. A bunch of Giant fans are selling their tickets off, and the ticket agencies that buy a lot of them, Chiefs fans are buying those tickets. It's a primetime game.
I wonder what the crowd is going to be like. That's one of my big mysteries. Giants fans already starting to check out at home, or are they, like you said, are they selling their tickets?
Well, there might also be a contingent that they're waiting for that dart moment, right? And so they might be there and that's the problem you're going to have. If you fall behind 10-0 and your offense doesn't move the ball much at all in the first quarter, I've got to assume the screaming and the yelling for Jackson Dart to come into the game is going to be deafening, and the Giants are going to have to they're just going to have to. They're going to have to make that switch. But if they play remotely like they did against Dallas, if the offense is moving the ball, if they can get some points, they're going to hold that off a little bit. But how long does that if you score?
I don't think you have to make the switch because the crowd's going nuts. I mean, it just depends on that would look weak too.
And you think that this staff and organization isn't?
I don't know.
You saw the rumor that came out, so I want to ask you, what did you think of the rumor that came out that said that the move to Dart?
I could see that being true. I mean, that if they don't win this game, it could be because it's somebody brought up. A couple people brought up is the guy that who reported it doesn't have a great track record of making predictions. So let's put that out there too. But it's not. If you were going to try to come up with a rumor that could come true, that's not a bad guess. That's not a bad,
Yeah, so you're not going out on a limb.
So because it gets to the point where there's two things working in that direction. One is, say the coaching staff feels secure in their position. Your position at that point would be like, this team isn't going to go to the playoffs. We got to build to next year and make sure we don't have another disaster next year. So we better give Dart as much playing time now to get him ready for next year. The other thing is if you are afraid of your position, as other people have said, Dart might be your lifeline to convince ownership to give you another year. So there's two reasons why you would make that change. The reason not to make it, again, is what you and I have talked about before. You're less worried about this is, do you ruin Dart if you throw him out? You throw him out there.
Yeah.
And all quarterbacks are different. Some do better when you throw them out there early to the Wolves, and some don't. And we don't know what Dart's going to be. So I don't have. He seems pretty confident to me. What I worry more about is Giants fans, sports fans in general, but Giants fans in particular, because we're so beaten down. We're ready to we have zero patience anymore. There's no patience with the Giants fan base. And I think there are a lot of Giants fans have either have selective memory or are not old enough to remember what developing a quarterback really looks like, because we stuck with Daniel Jones for so long. Playing a young quarterback is almost always painful. It's not pretty, and there are going to be bad moments. And I think people sometimes can't come to terms with, oh my God, we're starting all over again, and we're going to have to go through this process again. and it didn't work out for Daniel Jones, and hopefully it'll work out with Dart, but they still got to go through the growing pains. And what does a growing pain mean? Throwing bad interceptions, looking terrible, having a game where you only complete half your passes, that kind of stuff. When Dart plays, that's going to happen. And Giants fans, the smart ones, are going to say, this is part of the process. The ones that don't have any patience are going to be immediately going, screw this, he sucks, get rid of him, and that's the wrong take too. So it's painful.
There was a mention or question that said, if the Giants switch after 3 games, and I think you could probably even go to 4, to Dart, that it's Daboll trying to not get fired mid-season. I think that no matter when he does it, that clearly would be part of the reason why, unless it's week 17 and the Giants have, their decent record and they decided that game doesn't mean anything, so we're going to play Dart. That's the only time it wouldn't be. Anything before that is clearly trying to make sure that he stays for next year. If the Giants make the switch, it has to be, I think, truly based on the offense. If Wilson throws for 450 or another, 380 and then a 370 and they're scoring points, but they lose, it's still hard to then just pull him out, put Dart in, because your answer isn't the offense. It's something else. You might do it for a spark or you're doing it for next year, but it would send, I think, a really bad message to the rest of the team that said the guy that's performing, we're going to yank you and we're going to replace you, even though you're not.
Yeah.
So it has to be the offense is struggling.
Again, in a way, the way the Giants have made this unnecessarily complicated. Again, the quote giant grit. I mean, I'm not. It sounds like I'm critiquing them on this, but they've kind of boxed themselves in a little bit with exactly what you just said. If Russell Wilson continues to do awesome, and it makes it harder to make that switch because of the locker room, So that's what you're saying, right? That's what you're
absolutely saying. Yeah, because how do you? It would be literally like, hey, we keep having. Let's. Okay, I can't believe I'm going to do this. Let's say it's NASCAR, right? And you keep having flat tires, and you go, you know what? We're going to change the engines. Yeah. You would be blaming the wrong thing,
right? In the locker room would be kind of like what that. I mean, like people like Dexter Lawrence who are just so tired of losing are going to be like, what the hell are we doing? So they've made it. Now, that being said, is it out of the realm of possibility that you and I are on here Tuesday and we're saying, wow, the Giants scored 13 points and the defense held them to 14 points and we lost the game? In other words, that we shifted back
to the other direction.
And then we're pulling our hair out. So say like the Chiefs get 200 yards of offense and still win the game. And say one of the Chiefs scores is a turnover touchdown or a special teams touchdown. In other words, say we held Shane Bowen's defense held the Chiefs to 7 points and yet we still lost the game. Would you be shocked if that's the outcome on Tuesday? That we found another way to lose the game?
No, I wouldn't be shocked then, but now all the questions of what we were just talking about, now
that makes it easier.
They go, wait, now you put Dart in.
That makes it easier. Now so in a way, if the Giants lose the game, you kind of want it to go in that direction if you want Dart to be out there sooner.
Right. You don't want the loss to be a defensive loss. You don't want it to be, we scored 30 and lost 37-30. You don't want
Dart to play.
If you want Dart to play. I'm going to be, as I always am, I want them to win. And I want to see Dart play some. I have no problem, and I know Cy does, and I don't have a problem with it, that you bring him in and you just have been faking the runs, and then he ran one and he slipped. That's not a big deal.
That's going to continue to happen. We know that's going to continue.
But sooner or later, Dart's not going to hand the ball off,
and he's not going to come out of the game at some point either. And that would be the interesting thing is if he goes in
and plays the whole series.
Well, not only that. He never leaves.
There is that, but I'm more like you. This is the one thing that I had a real problem with when you tried the tackle eligible pass to Bo. You never set up anything else that made the defense think anything other than watch the eligible guy who just reported. Right. You didn't bring him in 7 times in a row and ran the ball. You brought him in and immediately tried to throw it to him. That's ridiculously stupid. But by bringing Dart in, handoff or fake handoff, And then on like the 7th or 8th time, he doesn't hand off. He drops back. They're not going to be ready for it. They're going to keep watching the run. It's going to be in their mindset. That's
Oh,
all
sure.
he
Oh,
does.
sure.
So you're setting it up. But then, like you said, and I didn't take it as far as you did, but let's say he does that and then he doesn't come out.
He
He
never comes
continues,
out.
well, or just at least not for that series, right? Keep it going. But I would definitely do it inside the 10-yard line. I would definitely bring him in. Russell Wilson, I think, is probably the biggest detractor of our offense inside because now you got to do things differently. He's too short. The middle of the field becomes too congested. Like you said, the depth is short. The end line brings everybody closer. So what does that do?
I'm not getting offended that you're explaining that to me.
Shut up. What I'm saying, though, is it brings really big players, right? Now they're in your line of sight so much closer that he doesn't, it's not like he can moonball it. It's too close. Dart, on the other hand, gives you about 4 more inches of height. He gives you some youth and really much more of a running capability that the defense has to be aware of that. They don't have a book on Jackson Dart. They don't have a series of film that they've watched on him that they know what he's going to do in a real game. So I think I take advantage of that early on and I use him in the red zone and pull Wilson out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we'll see. I think they're going to keep upping Jackson Dart's snaps. I think they're going to wait.
Scouting us. They heard it on Inside BVI.
No.
Hey, I wish freaking Brian Daboll would listen, for God's sakes. Stop saying so much shit that means absolutely nothing. At least be honest. You know, somebody brought up, I'm sorry, I don't mean to delve into this, but somebody brought up, what do you guys expect him to say and blah, blah, blah. I don't expect him to say really anything, but what I don't want you to do is spend a whole bunch of time coming off like an asshole, coming off arrogant, and then saying something kind of weird that doesn't make any sense. You know what you say about James Hudson? Listen, that did not go the way he would want it to go, and it certainly didn't go the way we wanted to go. We made a switch. He knows he can't do that, and that's it. You don't go, well, you know, that first one really wasn't on him, and the other one was more technique. You explain to me where you lost your technique piece where you smash a guy in the head with your hand as he runs by you. Pretty sure that's not taught. Coy Bacon doesn't even do it anymore. Give me a break.
I don't mind if the coach sounds like an asshole in his press conference. Bill Parcells could sound like an asshole.
Yeah, but Bill Parcells was a winner.
Tom Coughlin could sound like an asshole. It's one of these things where he tries to say nothing and be kind of a dick.
Yeah, but
I've also noticed that if a female reporter asks him a question, he's way nicer.
Interesting.
And he's there. Because we're friends, professional friendly with some of these people. There are reporters that are there that you can tell they don't like.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when certain reporters ask, and it's not just Dable, it's the other coaches and it's the GM. When certain guys ask questions, it's so their responses are so dismissive and almost like, I don't want to talk to you. You know, and don't ask me a question, you dipshit. You know, and I'm not going to name names, but I think if people who've watched the press conference, they know they can figure out who I'm talking about. So, but watch when Dable was asked a question by a female reporter. His tone is way different than when it's
he gets very antagonistic the other way. Pooks aplenty. I listen. I'll give credence to that to a degree, but no, that's bullshit. You don't. He was doing a shoulder club and the guy slipped and he smashed him in the head. You don't swing for the fences like he did. So give me a goddamn break. There's no way that.
I thought it was kind of cool in hindsight. After the fact, if we're gonna lose the game, I'm just glad he clobbered the guy.
I don't mind if you're being physical, but just don't be stupid.
What are you doing out there?
Like he's like bam in the head and be like. And then he got the goddamn penalty after the play when Wandell got down to like the 2-yard line.
The one where he shoved him into the ground.
I'm like, what? Can you just take success at all? I mean, come on. That was the worst meltdown of an offensive lineman in one series. I mean, at least Kyle Turley, it was over a couple of series, and then finally he just threw the Jets helmet that he took off and just chucked it down the field. This was literally a complete, and then he's throwing a fit on the sidelines. I'm like, what did you expect, dude? Not only are you not good, but Jesus, you just cost your team. Dude, I understand you can put it in there over and over again. That's a shitty technique then, and it was horribly stupid. End of story. I'm not
I'm
backing
just,
down from
I'm
that.
just again. I'm going to move past that. At least it wasn't the guy. Remember the defensive tackle that stepped on somebody's head? It was the guy that played for the Titans that ended
Yeah,
up with the
it was
Patriots.
Albert Hainsworth.
Yeah,
Albert
remember when he
Hainsworth
stomped on
with
somebody's
the helmet
head? That was
off.
the worst thing I've ever
Yeah.
seen in football. That was like, oh my god,
Well,
he could have killed somebody.
Miles Garrett tried to kill Mason Rudolph, so there is that.
Yeah.
When he took the helmet and tried to just smash him in the head with it, so there is that.
Well, the middle linebacker of the Ravens shot somebody or did kill somebody, allegedly. Oh no. Anyway, sorry, we don't go there. Disclosure: he did not. This was a joke. Sorry. Don't sue us. Anyways,
Not all opinions are.
we'll have
Anyway.
we'll have a screen come up. Yeah. Anyways, all right. Should we answer some questions, or do you want to talk something about the Chiefs? Because we said we're gonna make this a Q&A, and people.
Yeah,
are like,
I mean, we are trying to grab them as they go. There's I'm trying to remember. I thought I saw one a little bit ago. Oh, there was a question someone posted about DJ. Does DJ's success right now with the Colts or continued have a negative impact on the Giants, on Russell Wilson, on Dayball, if he continues to have success there? Now, Pilks, you can say whatever you want. I'll match my knowledge of football against almost anybody, so I'm okay with being arrogant about that.
John's
Go
not
ahead.
arrogant.
No, I'm listen. I listen. It's you can't tell me the way he just swung like that. Give me a goddamn break. The guy was already going down when he fucking hit him in the head. Give me a break. Come on. Let's not make excuses for our team being so poorly playing. And Hudson, by the way, it's not like Andrew Thomas. It's not like one of those guys. Hudson is known for being a hothead and not really thinking it through. And he had multiple penalties. So let's move on.
I already said Hudson. Again, it's going to sound like I'm defending the guy. I'm not trying to defend him, but I've already said it. I think football matters to him, and he lost his composure. But I'll take that over someone not giving a shit. Like, he should have been pulled. He should have been benched.
Yes,
he hurt his team.
Sure,
but
sure.
It's not like he's he's mailing it in. He actually wants to win, and he. So that's just
for sure, for sure.
So
it just got out of hand. So DJ, get back to DJ.
Yeah, it's a great question. It gets back to kind of I still have these visions of John Mara sitting and going, "I'll have nightmares if Saquon Barkley goes to the Eagles," and he didn't even throw in wins the Super Bowl MVP or whatever. But
that would be bad.
I've got to think in the back of John Mara's head and his other family members, they're looking at what Daniel Jones is doing and going, I've got to think in the back of their head that they're like, I would think, but I don't know. But I don't know.
The funny thing is too, though, one thing to keep in mind, Daniel Jones has had some of his best games in a dome, and they played both games have been in the dome. It'll be interesting this week. They're on the road. They're at Tennessee. Let's see if he play. And again, I'm not knocking him. He's done pretty well.
We got to call it
surprisingly
like
well. He's done surprisingly well.
He's playing very well. I mean, who the hell would have thought they would have gone into Denver and beaten Denver?
Well, Denver. I mean, how stupid do you have to be?
I know. But they did. But they did do it, and it was against the He didn't cost them the game, and he's actually been one of the league's best quarterbacks right now. So we can't Well, we'll see. We'll see what they're at the end of the year. But I don't think it has a direct impact on the coaching staff. They're not sitting around thinking about it. I don't think some of the fans are going to be. It's one of the most painful subjects for Giants fans but they're almost addicted to it. It's almost like a drug addiction. The Daniel Jones threads are still some of the most popular on the site, and I'm like, oh my God, can we let this go? But then you and I find each other bringing it up too. I mean, I'm just as guilty as other people saying, mentioning him by name too. And here we are again.
Well, it was a question that someone posted. It's interesting because again, I think the sting of Saquon is still there, right? Someone leaves and goes and does well somewhere else, and the funny thing is the reverse. The reverse is very true. Is that the teams keep bringing. The Giants keep bringing guys in from elsewhere, and then they don't play as well as they did somewhere else, and that's a weird sort of situation. Guys leave us and play better. We bring them here, and they don't play so well. I don't think the Daniel Jones thing, I wouldn't worry about it until way later in the season. If Russell Wilson completely falls apart, then you might be able to say, but Wilson threw for 450. Jones had one 400-yard game, and I totally forgot about it. And it was actually another dome game. It was the one against the Saints that the Giants had come back late in that game and won that game. So I don't think it matters.
I don't think we can just casually dismiss what Paul's saying here, too, because this is becoming a trend now.
Yes,
and that's another. There are a number of reasons why Dable, I think, is on thin ice. And the big one is what I keep saying. The biggest one is he can't win a game, but intimately tied to that is he can't beat teams in the NFC East. He can't seem to pick a defensive coordinator. His offense obviously has been way up and down. So this is another one that's got to be out there, is like guys that were under this regime leave and seem to do better. And I don't think we can casually discount that. I think that's got to be. Remember, there was that old press conference Mara gave years ago about that. Who was the receiver that we had? That little tiny guy that at the end of the year, Mara was like, why wasn't he better? Was it Terrell Jernigan? No, who the hell was it? Was it Sonoris Moss? There was a receiver that we had, a small guy that at the end of the year went off, and Mara was saying, why didn't he play earlier in the year? Why wasn't? And someone in chat might.
It could have been Jernigan.
I thought it might have been
Jernigan. Yeah, he had like one good game.
I think it was Terrell Jernigan. And so those kinds of the reason I'm bringing this up is those kinds of thoughts we know are in Mara's head. He does think about things like, well, we have these players and they're not performing the way they did once. Why didn't they perform that way before? So I wouldn't discount the fact that he is. Yeah, I think everyone's saying Jernigan. Was it more Moss?
It's not Moss. Moss never had a really good game.
It was. I think it was Jernigan.
It has to be Jernigan.
Didn't he go off like against the Redskins in a game? It was something like
where it was late in the year.
It was late in the year, and he went off. And at the press conference in January, Mara made a big deal about. He singled him out by name, and he said, like, we got to figure out. And I'm paraphrasing. We got to figure out why. This happened at the end of the year and it wasn't happening earlier in the year. So, and I could see him, why did we let Xavier McKinney go? Why? And he's thinking about why did we let Saquon go? He's he's thinking that, right or wrong. You and I have a different view on that, but we know he's. But speaking of that, by the way, oh my God, and he's been on the show and we like him, but will Ryan Dunleavy please let the Saquon? Do you see
I know. I'm like, come on.
Jesus Christ. Anyways, yeah, that's the thing. It's Jernigan didn't actually end up being a decent player.
No.
But my point is, right or wrong, Mara thinks that way.
But if you take that out, right? Don't look at real things across the league. Hernandez leaves us. He goes and he was starting for the Cardinals, doing well. Someone brought up Ben Bredeson's now the starting center in Tampa Bay. So he's
a perfect example. Ben Bredesen, and so is the other.
Sterling Shepard is out at why.
The offensive lineman we got from the Ravens was good. There was the offensive guard that we got that was good before he came here. Wasn't very good when he got here. Then he left and he was good again.
Yeah, and I'm forgetting his name.
I'm forgetting. But anyways, you can go down the list, and there's been a number of people. And what's weird is it's kind of happened with the coaches a little bit too. People were like, get rid of Bobby Johnson, our offensive line coach.
Zeitler.
Zeitler, thank you. Our offensive line coach stinks. He goes to the Commanders and he puts gets that line playing. Now they're not great, but they're playing better than they did before the guy that was there before. So it's almost like the Giants are a little jinxed. You know what I mean? It's like whatever they touch turns to shit. So I hate to say that, but it's kind of weird, anyways.
So since we're playing just a question and answer game, and it can be any question and answer game, I'm gonna ask you this. Because I have my own opinion of just these two guys, and so I want you to know, if the end of the year happens and the Giants clean house, right? Coaches go, whatever.
Wait, let's stop there. Do you think Shane's on ice? Than ice? I don't think they want to fire him.
Okay. In my opinion, I don't know how, if you get rid of the guy that's been attached to his hip,
Right.
how you then keep the general manager. If you were going to fire the coach after you did your meeting at the end of last year,
Right.
you met with the general manager first.
Right.
You decided Shane was coming back.
Right.
Then you met with Daboll.
Right.
If you were going to separate the two, that would have been the time to do it. Now you brought them both back once again, and Shane went and got guys for Daboll.
Right.
I have to, if it were me, that means you're attached at the hip. I don't believe the Giants think that way, like you don't think that way
That's
either.
where I agree with everything that you said. So that's where I think I think, and he's come out and said it. Mara has kind of said, we've put in this new thing in place. And what I mean by thing, it's
Like a
it's
process.
the scouting staff, it's the process, it's even stuff like that people aren't even thinking about, like the newly designed draft room with all the high-tech stuff. But they've revamped everything. And and some of this is an investment. So we got to think of this in terms of money too. But they've spent all this money, they've put all this time and effort into the structure. And I've got to think Mara, again, right or wrong, I'm not defending him, but right or wrong, he is saying, I don't want to blow this all up again. I'm going to do what we're going to do is going to be painful, but I don't want to make it fully painful. I want to do the lesser of the, and I'm going to let the coach go and keep the structure in place. But like you said, that is, again, then that gets back to they never really pulled the Band-Aid off. You know what I mean? Here we are once again. We're not getting rid of the GM and the head coach at the same time. And now the new coach is going to be tied to the GM, who now the GM, if the team continues to struggle, the GM is very much on the hot seat. So, and then the quarterback, obviously, Dart is there. So anyway, sorry to go off on that tangent.
No, you're fine. So
that's the mess that they're in.
So my thought then is this: if that were the case, they go. If you had these two guys to choose from, forget any potential other issues. I understand there may be other issues. Would you bring in Mike McCarthy or Brian Flores?
In a way, Brian Flores would be sort of the culture shock that the team would need, but he's suing the team. I can't.
And the league. I mean, he is suing the team and the league.
Yeah, but
there are other teams involved.
These owners are so petty.
But he is coaching still in the league. I actually thought he might have been barred from being able to do that, and yet teams hired him. But if you take that out, I knew that was going to be part of it, and I too wonder, would they even?
If you were being sued by somebody, would you want to hire them?
True, I get that.
They're calling you a racist.
Well, there is that.
So yeah.
There is. That is the fly in the ointment to the question.
It's not just a lawsuit. They're saying that you're a horrible human being.
But if you were going to erase the bad history of what you've had recently, wouldn't that be a step in the right direction?
It would be a very magnanimous gesture to say, we're going, that would actually look kind of, in a way, good to the organization, but I don't know. I mean, McCarthy, McCarthy,
I'll say one thing about McCarthy is he wins no matter where he's at.
I guess. I think, let me answer that. Well, let me answer you first and then we'll answer Andrew. I think the Giants have backed themselves in the corner again. Again, this goes back to Giant grit. They don't make it easy on themselves. My sense is that this thing has gotten so ugly, and it shows you how bad things are. Right? You're my age. You remember when Bill Parcells left, Ray Hanley comes in, and Ray Hanley was only there for 2 years. It felt like the end of the world to Giants fans, to the point where Giants fans were like, don't ever mention his name. Don't even ever mention. That's funny. If you could go back and take Ray Hanley's 8-8 year, we'd all be happy right now.
Oh my God.
But Ray Hanley was as taboo a subject as you could possibly talk about. But it only lasted 2 years. But the the mindset at the time was, even though it had only been one guy, was, oh my God, we got to bring in somebody who can bring back some stature to this organization that can carry some weight in the locker
Some
room. And they
gravitas.
brought in
Yeah.
Dan Reeves.
Yes.
Dan Reeves was as well established a head coach, as respected as the head coach as there was in the NFL, who would be was available as you could possibly do. And Dan Reeves told George Young he would play nice and abide by the Giants structure, which he didn't. And that's one of the reasons why they ended up letting him go.
Yep.
But Dan Reeves came in and he immediately had success, and the Giants went to the playoffs and could have upset the world champion Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Yes.
It came out of nowhere season. Phil Simms played great. My point here is the Giants have kind of pegged themselves into this, where a lot of Giants fans, and I think maybe ownership, and it may be with reason, that no more gambles, no more like we're going to try to hire the next up and coming hot guy who's never really been a head coach at a significant level. Let's just bring somebody in here who's got a track record, that we know that there's a floor, that we know he just won't shit the bed. So part of me says they'll play it safe and they'll have to bring in somebody who just won't shit the bed. And that gets back to what you're saying. Mike McCarthy would be somebody that you're like not terribly inspired by, but there's a level of competency there that you'll be able to survive. My only issue with that is it's like then you're just shooting to not be awful. See what I mean? So, but they've kind of pegging now.
As Deadpool says, that might be new to Disney, but that's not new to him.
Yeah. So now you got me distracted. But in a way, say they had gotten rid of Daboll earlier. I look at now, and I don't think Mara would ever have done this, and I brought this up before, but my God, and I don't like the guy, but the guy wins. But Harbaugh at Michigan was out there, and how much better would have the Giants situation look better now if Harbaugh was our head coach? Because he would fix the lines. I don't like the turd. I don't like but he wins, and he knows how to build a football team, and he has gravitas, and that's kind of what the Giants need, is somebody to come in. But I don't think Mara would have even accepted, because I think Harbaugh would have wanted to run the organization his way. And that's part of the problem too, is the Giants are going to have to find a head coach that's willing to abide by Joe Shane's way of doing things. And some guys are going to be like, I'm not coming into the Giants situation because I don't know if I accept the way the Giants do business. That's my fear. I mean, I may be irrational, but that's my fear.
The other part that's going to play a role in all this is I think there's going to be a number of teams that are going to be looking at possible coaches. You got Miami is if they continue down the path they're on, they're going to be looking for another coach. You have no idea with some of the other teams in the league right now where they're at. Guys who've kind of been there, but they're not winning, or they were expected to win and they haven't won. It looks
like there may be less firings, though, don't you think? If you look at that may work in the Giants' favor, right?
It could, but there's really, if you want experienced coaches, there's really only a couple that have actual prior experience and were winning prior coaches.
And
Robert Saleh is kind of a.
Do you look at the college ranks? The Giants don't normally look at the college ranks.
That's a good question. Like, the problem, like you just said a minute ago, though, is we've tried guys who have not been head coaches in the NFL before.
Right.
So, do you go that route again? Well, so I guess we're kind of jumping ahead. I really wanted to ask those two guys. I wanted to ask those two guys specifically. John Gruden's another name, but John Gruden, I feel like the NFL is just not going to let that happen.
Wait, what was the question?
There was a question about John Gruden being a possibility, and I feel like the NFL is going to make that not possible.
When you see something, bring it up on the screen so I can see it,
too. It was a little further back when we were talking, but it was about the same coaches.
The Gruden thing is again, right or wrong, there's a perception problem. Look, Gruden may have done something wrong too, but it depends on who you believe in that whole thing. But the league has a problem with Gruden and wanted him out of the league at the very least. And I don't think the league. I think Gruden's basically blacklisted from the league, right or wrong at this point. So I don't think he's coming back. Again, I'm not defending Gruden, but there's a whole weirdness to that story that there seems to have been deliberate leaking going on. Anyways.
Right, exactly.
I think Gruden would like to work with Dart.
So here's the other thing that a lot of people keep bringing this up. So I want to throw this out there. They keep talking about the Giants aren't married to Dart. They're not married to Dart, whatever. If we finish high, look at 26. I would not be so confident right at the moment in the quarterback class of 26. Some of those guys that have been talked about have not looked so great to start off.
Correct.
Arch Manning has no business coming out at the end of this year. If he chooses to do so, that's going to be horrifyingly bad for him. He is not there. I've watched him play in each of his 3 games. He has not looked good so far. He needs way more time to play.
I don't understand the appeal. All right, so full disclosure, I did not see him play before this year. Okay.
Right.
And again, the sample size this year the sample size the year before was he only threw 95 passes. So I was thinking, well, I got to watch this guy. What's the big deal with him? And I don't even see it as a runner. I don't know. I don't get the appeal. I don't even think he's a first round draft pick. So I don't.
No, not right now.
Change, but I don't get that. So, but you're correct, John. That this is the danger with people, fans, pundits, anybody who says next year's class is good, next year's class is bad. You just never know. Guys come out of nowhere and do well, and guys that were supposed to do good or well do poorly. We even saw that last year with the quarterback who transferred, who did so poor. I don't know what's going on with my brain this morning, but the guy that transferred that was supposed to be, was it Beck?
Well, he transferred this year.
Right, this year. But but last year he was supposed to be like.
Yeah, he played horrible.
He played horrible. So you just never know. But you've brought this up repeatedly, John, that Dart's looking better now, given what we've seen early. Yeah, and this, RD, I'm glad you said this. It's early. So John and I are guilty of doing the same thing. We condemn people all the time of making too big a deal out of a small sample size.
Well, it might be early, but Arch Manning has looked very poor against. It would be one thing.
He's not coming out. He's not. Yeah,
it'd be one thing if you're like, yeah, Arch Manning could be in a top 5 of the picks, and he's blowing out the teams he's supposed to blow out, and struggled a little with Ohio State. He struggled against UTEP, for God's sakes. That says he is not ready.
Yeah.
You can tell me it's early all you want. He's not ready.
Klubnik and all these other guys, but it's just no one's really gone like, holy crap, is he? So I have to admit that since we're talking about the draft, I did a draft. I'm still doing these mock drafts, and I did do a draft because the Giants have so few picks because they traded away a pick. They flipped one because of the Darren Waller. Darren Waller's still not playing, by the way. I did a draft yesterday where I took a center and 2 guards, and I know the Giants won't do that, but I'm like, God damn it, we got to fix this offensive line. So I traded down and I ended up like just loading up on offensive linemen. I think that one of the things that the positive things, if you want to be positive here, to look forward moving forward is Wan'Dale Robinson's game last Sunday a one-off, or does it continue? Because if it continues and they can re-sign him, that takes off a major offseason need for the Giants. Not that they don't need to get another outside receiver, but I was thinking at one point, my God, we got to get another slot receiver because Wan'Dale's not doing anything. Now, again, one game does not make a trend. We have to see if he can continue to do this. But if Wan'Dale starts to be like this player that he was against Dallas, then you're like, wow, we got Neighbors, we got Wan'Dale, Theo Johnson. Let's get another wide receiver outside and then fix the offensive line. And you're like, all right, we got the offense going. Now we need to address the defensive lineman and get a linebacker in here. So it isn't that bad if you're thinking in those terms. But can we get somebody that can coach these guys too?
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
I think some of the other things too. I put some stats together the other day on BBI. Russell Wilson, amazingly enough, now has the fourth highest yards in passing yards in a game, tied with Eli Manning at 450. Russell Wilson is second in yards passing in the NFL right now, behind Josh Allen. Josh Allen has played one more full game. So, assuming that Wilson has a decent game against Kansas City, he'll probably lead the NFL in passing after this game.
But you won't be shocked if Russell Wilson does not have a good game against Kansas City.
Oh, sure, because I mean, again, we have two diametrically opposed games to look at. Washington,
yes,
where we had 6 points and did almost nothing, and then Dallas, where we're throwing passes deep down the field and guys are getting open and they're making catches and the offense played differently. Do we go kind of more in the middle? And that would make more sense. Get somewhere in the 270, 80 range and 2 touchdowns and your offense is going. That would make sense. Or are we back to 185 yards and 6 points through an entire game? This is where the sample size is too small to say because they're so different. I don't know. So, yes, I would not be surprised if it went back the other way.
The other thing that's going to be interesting if we're talking long-term stuff is the Kayvon issue. Now, Kayvon's playing actually pretty well right now. But the issue moving forward, again, people are going to say, I'm trying to get rid of Kayvon. I'm not trying to get rid of Kayvon. I do worry about the fact that he's the next guy who's going to have his contract come up. And is he going to want to be in a rotation here? And or are the Giants going to want to pay him the money that he's going to be seeking for a player that is good but not great and is part of a rotation? So part of me says this is not a slam dunk yes or no question because there's a lot of variables here. You can make arguments to keeping him and you can make arguments for getting rid of him. And one of the reasons why you might get rid of him is you question your ability to keep him. Like, can you keep Kayvon without franchising him? Is there a way that you can make sure he does not leave the building? And I'm not so sure that's the case. Now, the one thing we do know about Kayvon is he has aspirations outside of football, and maybe he's more willing to stay in the New York area, but he's a West Coast guy too. So he may be like, I'd like to get back to the West Coast. So I have thought about Kayvon, and I have thought about, because of that, I have run draft scenarios where I've taken another edge rusher, believe it or not, thinking, you know what, Kayvon, you can't be sure Kayvon's going to be here long term because he may want to leave.
Right.
So remember, this isn't just the Giants thing. It's, does the player still want to be here? And it kind of gets back to something John's brought up before, too, is if the Giants keep losing, there are players on this team, like a Dexter Lawrence, that as they get older, you're going to start to wonder, and I froze, you're going to start to wonder if they're going to be here when the team, if they're going to still be good when the team finally turns it around, and are you better off getting a massive return for them before you didn't really get anything out of their career? And so I don't want to get rid of Dexter Lawrence. I think he's a great player, but there is a part of me that says, oh my God, when are the Giants going to be good? And is Dexter still going to be good when the Giants turn it around? That's what John's been bringing up. And John has said he hasn't made a difference in the win-loss record as it is. So,
and the difference with Dexter is he's got his deal, so he's got big money right now. Kayvon, the problem that you have is if you do sign him, you're going to have to pay him. He's going to have to get a decent amount of money. So that means you're going to have Dexter with a big contract. You're going to have Burns with a big contract. You're going to have Kayvon with a big contract. And you're going to have Carter, assuming he plays well, is 2 years away from he wants more money and get his deal done early. So you're going to have a lot of money tied up in your front seven. On
a defense that's 32nd in the league.
Right. A whole bunch of money tied up. So, there's roster juggling that has to happen. I don't know. We don't have to worry about it per se too much right now. We have the 5th-year option on Kayvon, so we have one more year that he's guaranteed of being there.
Right.
But I do think the Giants are going to have to do something before that, though, because I don't know that Kayvon's going to want to do that. I don't know that he's going to want to walk into next year going, I'll just play out this. He's going to want more money. He's going to probably push to get one, especially if Eric's right. And I do think there is some legitimacy. He does a lot of traveling. He does a lot of overseas traveling, very west. He goes a lot to Asia. He's done a lot of stuff where he travels. So I think West Coast actually does make a lot of sense for him.
He's a West Coast guy.
And that's where he came from. So there's some truth to that. If the Giants are 0-5 and a team comes to calling, I can't not listen to it, because you got to start planning ahead to next year. If Dart stays, you still need draft picks. You got more things you got to go get. So I don't want to get rid of him right now, because I think he brings a physical presence that some of the other guys don't bring, but he hasn't meant enough to the defense that I'm going to turn it away if we are 0-5 and people are calling.
Right. And everyone, and Jay Snow, I see you. I want to say Jon Snow. I'll get my Game of Thrones. Jay. So, look, I'm a huge Dexter fan. I don't want to get rid of him either. It's not just he eats up double teams. Sometimes he eats up triple teams. The question is, again, and it sounds like I'm lobbying to get rid of him. I'm not lobbying. I'm just saying there will come a time when he hits that age where it's not going up, it's starting to go down. And where will the Giants as a franchise be when that's happening? So, like, the Giants were very fortunate at the they got something out of George Martin and Harry Carson while they were still, when they did finally get good, but it happened right when that first Super Bowl happened, and they weren't part of that second Super Bowl. So what I'm saying is will Dexter even be around when the Giants are in a playoff team again? And if they're not, then you want to, if somebody came to with an offer, a massive deal, and part of this is tied, if they did get rid of Shane and they did get rid of Dable, does the new regime just simply want to say, you know what, we just want to start from scratch and just blow this up and just build, like, say John Harbaugh came in here. I just want to, I mean, he's not going to, but if it was something like that, I just want to build this thing up from scratch and get my program the way it is. So I'm just saying, and I don't think they'll do that, because I think part of this too is they want to save their necks. So Joe Shane doesn't want to get rid of his best players too,
right.
Because he wants to save his neck. So we probably shouldn't spend too much time on it. I'm just saying these are the kinds of things, though, think of as Giants fan. And where I see it is because I run the website, and every year I have to change the ages on the roster. I'll go, wow, he's 29 years old already, or he's 30. He's going to be 30 next year. These players get older faster than you realize. You know, the years move, and then you're like, some players, 30 comes around sooner than you think. And us old guys know that already. Yeah. But there's a window. There's a window where, there's a window when Walter Payton could have won a Super Bowl. They're like Mike Butkus didn't win a. There's a window where you got a chance. Dan Marino didn't win a Super Bowl. There's only so much you can do because of your age, and most people aren't Tom Brady and aren't around forever. So
a good example is Michael Strahan. Strahan came on in the early 90s. He's there in 93. They had a really good team in 93. Lose a couple of years. 97, they come back. They're able to make the playoffs in 97. But then
he played with Lawrence Taylor. People forget.
Yeah.
He played with Lawrence Taylor.
Couple of years, makes it to the Super Bowl again in 2000. So he's there, and he just barely held on long enough to be part of that 07 Super Bowl team.
Barely, just like Harry Carson and George Martin. Yes, barely.
And so the window and the difference is he had some success, Michael did earlier, 93, 97. The Giants were competitive in 99 to a degree. 2000, 2002, they were competitive. They were playoff team. They blew the goddamn game against the 49ers. So they had wins. Dexter Lawrence has had one winning season, 22. That's it.
And a lot of people don't know, or probably have forgotten, that Michael Strahan and Jesse Armstead threw hissy fits and had like almost a quasi revolt against
John Coughlin.
No, even Fossil, because they were tired of the losing. There was a game after I think it was after the Redskins in DC, that they threw a hissy fit after a loss, and they were basically kind of an open revolt against Fossil at one point. I think it was Fossil, but and I remember at the time, and BBI was at the time, and the thing was like, again, because people were forming sides, but people were like, settle down, you two. They were kind of coming across as big babies at the time, and they weren't. So Michael Strahan kind of went through also a personal run, and he held out. Remember, Michael Strahan didn't come. He held out, and people were pissed at him. And it was a Super Bowl year too.
Yes, 07.
So Michael Strahan kind of went through this perception change with fans that people were like, now people love him, but there was a time where he was kind of like considered sort of a prima donna on the team. And so it shows you how winning cures a lot of that stuff. And again, Harry Carson went through a stage where he said, I want to get traded. Phil Simms was pissed off at Bill Parcells when he picked Bruner. I mean, so some of this stuff has always been there, and it's just winning will cure all things.
Yes.
But like you said, Dexter's been here and hasn't won. And Odell threw a hissy fit and was having kind of a meltdown. Now he's trying to reinvent himself and say he never wanted to leave New York. He signs that big contract and he starts instantly bad mouthing Eli Manning. And now he comes up trying to say how he's the victim. So players, it's interesting. So you got to kind of remember the evolution of some of this stuff too.
It depends on what you mean by team, the players or the organization. I think the organization was not very happy with Michael a couple of times.
Mouthing off in the press.
Yeah, he was very, and he had a real problem with Coughlin. He had a problem with Coughlin's rules, and
yes,
and they kind of came to a head when they had the players committee that would then meet with Coughlin, the leadership team that would meet with Coughlin. That really turned the things around for the 07 season and stuff. But yeah, there was a lot that way. Paul, to answer your question,
Barber was being a dick. Tiki
oh
Barber
my God,
was a dick.
And
now he's kind of reinventing himself now too. But Tiki was a dick.
And he's a classic example, by the way, of what we were just talking about, of not winning it or hanging on, losses building up and just not. He retires after 06. The dude was still on top of his game. Still, tons of yards. He was playing at a top level, and he steps away. And he shit on Eli in that summer.
Yes, he did.
Totally
he did. And he, unfortunately, I mean, his punishment ended up being he didn't get the ring.
Yes.
Look, I don't have again, I think Tiki has come around. Maybe I'm being fooled by his personality. I don't know. I think he's matured. But Tiki kind of did his retirement tour in the press before he was out. You know what I mean? He was
that whole year towards the end, blowing kisses to the crowd. I'm like so annoyed.
Yeah, when he was leaking stuff to the press and things like that.
Yeah.
So it was and Tiki, the one thing about Tiki, and we should get focused here because we're
no, I mean, it's
one thing about Tiki was he what you said is when he got drafted, he was an okay player. And I'm not even talking about just the fumbling. The fumbling was an issue. But he was a nice player. But then he became this amazing player. He went through like a 3 or 4 year period where I can't believe how good he was. If you go back and look at the runs that he had during that period, some of the games that he had, like the Kansas City game or the huge
I was at that game.
You were at that one where he just went off?
I was in I told the story a million times. I'll do it real fast because I know you. I actually was at a UVM hockey game, and I was sitting there. We had split ends. UVM, University of Vermont. For those who don't know, I was at one end. My wife, my now ex-wife, was at the other end. We only got 2 tickets on each side. So then a bunch of people had left. So I came over, and we were able to sit together. And all of a sudden, I'm looking in front of me. There's these 4 people sitting in front of me, and somebody's holding 4 tickets like fanned out. And I looked at it, and it was a giant sheet. And so jokingly, I go, "You're not trying to sell those, are you?" And the woman turned around, she goes, "We can't go. Are you interested?" It was in a Budweiser box. So myself and 3 of my friends, we were in a Budweiser box. It was awesome.
That was a great game. That was a great game.
And Tiki had a great game.
I mean, the quality, it wasn't just the yardage, which was huge. It was he had over 200 yards rushing.
Yeah,
right?
and Toomer had a huge game.
And Toomer had a huge game. And then, but there was the Raiders game that out there that he went off. I mean, you just go down the list. He had so many games where you're like, he wasn't just, you could argue he was MVP level for a couple of years there.
Sure.
But anyways, but that wasn't the back he was early in his career. But anyways,
he even returned punts for a little while for the Giants.
Yes, and he was good at it.
He was their receiving back. They would bring him in his change of pace, and he was a smaller guy. He came in the same draft with Ike Hilliard.
He won a game against Dallas with a punt return, didn't he?
He very well could have. I know he did have a punt return.
Yeah, I think he did. So, all right. So let's get focused here. So do anything because we're on 1 minute.
Yeah, we're
up there. So So, or 1 hour, 48-minute mark. So questions before we get off? Anyone got something like that? You've got a question about
Well, Paul had the
game?
first one. Who's going to get fired? I think Mike McDaniel's going to get fired. I think he's going to get fired by midseason.
Oh, does he mean with the Giants or does he mean with the?
He said, "Who's the first person to get fired?" I don't think you would pick one. The Giants aren't going to fire an individual coach during the season. It'll either be the head
A
coach.
lot of Giants fans think they will. I don't. I agree with you. I don't think they will. But
I just don't know who would you replace any of those. The only one I could.
saying, who are you going to replace them with?
I mean, you could fire Dayball and just move Kafka in as the coach for the rest of the year and
He's
let
the
it
assistant
go.
head coach, but does that change anything?
No, but that's what I'm saying is like you wouldn't be able to fire one of the assistants. If you fire the defensive coordinator, who's going to take over? Is he Andre Patterson? Maybe, but he's a guy who's been in the league for a very long time and has never been a full coordinator. So I don't know that he could do it, but I don't know that they'd want it. And I don't think
They made their bed. They got to sleep.
Yeah, I think they're riding this staff out. I do think Mike McDaniel is going to get fired because there's a lot of stuff coming out of Miami that things are really out of control. That it was fine when they were winning games. That guys are late for practice, they're late for meetings. Some guys don't go to meetings, and now that the coach is calling that out when they're losing, the coach is losing them. And Mike McDaniel is just not a head coach. He might be a great coordinator. He's not a head coach.
Yeah, I had that game on the other day, and my wife and son came into the room. My son's home from the Army this weekend, and they said, "My God, that guy's young. He doesn't look like a head coach." I will give them credit. I think he is the first one gone. But they played that game. I did not expect that game to be as close as it was.
No, I didn't either.
Miami played hard. That was not a fluke game in the sense that some bizarre things were happening in Buffalo. Miami played a good game in that game, and they had a shot to tie that game. So I was actually very impressed with the effort. But I think he's the obvious one. But look, Dable's up there. I mean, I don't think he's going to get fired in the season, but Dable, if you're looking around the league, we're going to be honest, so we're standing outside of our Giants fandom here, and you're looking around the league, and the Giants are 0-2, and they got to play Kansas City, and they got to play the Chargers. You get the Saints, but then it's Denver Eagles. You're thinking, oh my God, at best the Giants are going to have win one game as they're approaching the midway point. And you're thinking, after the fact that they had such a horrible year last year and the year before, you got to be thinking, if you're outside looking in, Dable's next. So if we're being objective, if you were a Raiders fan and you were looking at the league, you would say, oh my God, Dable's done too. You'd have to.
He's got to be up there because of the situation. I think Dart does buy him more time though to actually play him. Yeah, for this year, I think for this year, because that was his guy.
Oh, you and I said from the beginning, you've got to win some games.
He's got to win games. It's no doubt about it. But I think it's the more you lose early on, the sooner Dart's got to play. Or what's the point of why did you even have Dayball and why did you draft Dart for Dayball?
But if Dart comes in and plays and the defense doesn't play better, Dart's not going to win. That doesn't mean Dart's not a bad quarterback. Right. But he's also he's going to be going through the growing pains, plus his defense isn't helping him out.
But that would mean that Dart is fine, but I still think Dayball goes.
Right.
If you lose, he's got to win some games. You can't come. So basically, you can't go 9 wins, 6 wins, 3 wins, and then come in right around 3 or even less. If you're right around, how do you defend that guy back?
How do you defend it? So remember, I said earlier, the weird thing that might come out of this, the good thing is this, and I'm praying that this is at least the bare minimum, is if we have to suffer through this season and through this coaching staff but the trade-off was you got a quarterback that you can believe in, and that quarterback came here because of Brian Daboll, then I'll take that trade-off. So in other words, if you came to me before the season and said, Eric, the Giants are going to be awful. You're going to have to go through another coaching change, but in return, we'll give you your quarterback of the future. Will you take that? I said, I would say yes, because getting your quarterback is so hard to get. So I'm hoping that the bare minimum, if everybody's gone, at least they got the quarterback out of this. But that gets back to my original point. It's complicated now because the new coaching staff is going to have to accept Dart as the quarterback. That's the thing. Now, if he plays well down in the remainder of the season, and when I mean well, again, it's going to be ugly at times, but people say, you know what? he's up and down, but we can see it, then maybe the guys that are out there, the coaches out there, the prospects say, you know what, I can work with Dart. Somebody brought up like this, and again, I'm not a huge fan of him, but if Lane Kiffin wanted to come back to the NFL, you'd have to think Lane Kiffin would be like, I can work with Dart.
Oh, without a doubt, he would probably sign up for that. Yeah, I don't know that I don't know as the Giants.
I know. That's what I'm saying, though.
But I know I thought the same thing because I mean, talk about direct connection. If Dart's your guy, the guy who was his coach before makes perfect sense if that's how you're going to do this.
And remember who's on Kiffin's staff, and he might bring him with him.
Oh my God! Don't say that. Don't say that.
Well, tell people in case they don't know.
No, it's pretty funny.
Joe Judge.
If you imagine if Joe Judge
is on Kiffin's staff, so
we should
bring back the short yardage.
We should. You know what we should do for just shits and giggles purposes? We should bring back an entire staff of all the guys that we got rid of. So you bring back one head coach. Pat Shurmur comes back. Let's go. Ben McAdoo comes in as the quarterback coach. I mean, let's bring back the band. Who's
the worst defensive coordinator we've had? Because we've had some doozies.
Boy, Rod Rust is up there. Tim Lewis is up there.
Yeah, but Rod Rust is dead. I mean,
I don't know if that makes a lot of difference.
I mean, if you go back, I had to look when we did a podcast earlier. I had to go back and look at who the Giants defensive coordinators have been in the last 20 years. It's a shit list. I mean, James Betcher. I mean, it's just this awful.
Was it Sheridan? I mean,
yeah, it was bad. I mean, it was just all these guys and most of them are like their careers are.
I can't believe I blew a perfect opportunity when you said he was dead. I should have just gone. We'll cross him off then. Shit. We got to do that movie one of these days.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we'll wrap it up because we've been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
So with this game, some positive things we want to continue to see. You brought it up already. Wandell. By the way, Neighbors, I want to continue to see play. I am a little worried. He's at 25 targets with a guy with a toe and back issue. How quickly do those injuries start to really come up if the Giants continue to lose? That's something to watch. But he's a difference maker, though. They got to keep going at. Yeah, Perry Fuel. I forgot.
Well, the good news is he wasn't on the injury report and he practiced on.
I know, right? How odd is that? The guy he can't play at all until now, and now he's totally healthy.
All right, so maybe that doesn't mean he's healthy, but but remember he had a tendency not to practice on Fridays, right? So he practiced on Friday.
With the Jalen Hyatt piece, he's been active 2 games in a row. Doesn't play it down. I got to expect he's going to be inactive for this game. They're going to need the roster spots for other people.
I'm sorry. I was reading a question.
Jalen Hyatt's been active for the first 2 games, but has not played it down.
Oh, he's not playing this year.
No. That's not what I mean.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I'm thinking they won't have him. He can't be active this week. You can't activate a guy who's not going to play when you need the other roster spots. You're juggling.
Oh, there's a very good chance. I agree. Yeah, there's a very good chance he won't even be active. I mean, so he's not even the 4th receiver anymore.
So will Evan Neal be active when you have some concerns that Runyon's got a bit of an issue, Schmitz has an issue?
He could be active because like you just said, it's the interior line. And somebody asked earlier again, the big matchup issue in this game is their defensive tackle Jones against our interior line. So we're going to need a good game out of Van Roten and Runyon and Schmitz, and they'll rotate their defensive linemen. They'll keep them fresh, and it'll be interesting because Kansas City's been defense has been kind of. The question with Kansas City is this: how much is their, for lack of a better word, mediocrity been due to the quality of the opponents that they played in the first 2 games, or how much of it is that they are starting to come back to the pack? And people are going to have different opinions on that, and it may be a combination of both. But the Eagles and the Chargers may have something to do with them looking so bad. Now, if the Giants can keep the game close or pull off an upset, we know the answer. We know that the Kansas City is coming back to the pack. But it's also possible that the Chiefs embarrass the Giants. We're gonna have to see. I know this is a stupid question. Do we know if Taylor Swift's going to be there? And the only reason I'm asking is I do not want to see like 15 to 20 shots of her when I'm trying to watch the game. I'm one of those Giants fans in the preseason. I like to watch every preseason snap. And when they start doing interviews on the sideline during the game, it pisses me off to no end.
Yeah.
So don't even start me on somebody being up in the stands and they're like, "Oh my God, look
They
at
made a
Tampa."
big deal. They made a big deal of shielding her presence into the game, the last game, and
Oh,
the
did they?
camera. Yeah, and they brought out this. In fact, a
Okay.
whole company did this thing on. They had like this folding board thing that they opened up, and she walked behind it. They blocked so the cameras couldn't follow her, so they didn't actually see her, but they knew she was coming in. And then they really didn't focus on her in the thing. I almost feel like that was intentional. Like I think she's asked for that not to happen, and it seems like it might be tied to a bunch of political stuff. So that keep that in mind.
Okay. Well,
So
the only
I
reason I
would bet
bring this
I
up,
would bet she's not in New York.
is I do think, again, people are going to some people are going to get mad at me. I do think there's been way too many favorable calls over the years that have gone Kansas City's way. And again, it has not pertained to the Giants at all. As a fan, I'll be watching a Kansas City game and going, "You got to be kidding!" And I'm not rooting for or against Kansas City. I'm kind of agnostic about them. I'm a little tired that they're winning all the time. I'd like to see different. So I kind of like to see the Bills do something because I'm tired of Kansas City. But I'll be watching a Kansas City game and going, "You got to be kidding me!" And it comes at like the moment of the game where it changes everything. Now, is that just coincidence? I don't know, but it seems to happen a lot. And the league may not want Kansas City to go 0-3, and if Taylor's there, back in my mind, I'm like, please just don't have this. If the Giants keep this close, please just don't give us one of those weird calls where you're like, what the hell was that? A weird pass interference call.
Yeah,
Or
I could see that.
something
But
like you're like, holy shit. It's starting to drive me crazy are these roughing the passer penalties. It's like, and one of our guys, our defensive tackle, one of the two defensive roughing the passer penalties he got was bullshit. It's like,
oh
how
yeah,
is he
yeah, yeah,
supposed
it
to
was a bad
stop
call.
himself? I
It
mean,
was a bad call. And there
yeah,
was one on Dallas where Wilson got clearly clocked in the head that did not get called.
right.
I think I will say, I think the league, they've tried to do this. Dallas got a number of penalties too. By the way, there was one that I thought the league had a different rule than what they ultimately did here. The Giants had 4 penalties, 4 on one play, and Dallas had one, and it was offsetting. I was
Yeah,
like, they called off all the Giants shit, and I'm like, oh, and then Dallas had like,
that was crazy.
yeah, and I'm like, oh, offsetting. Okay,
I've never
great.
seen that before. I had never seen that before. That was actually funny. I've
So
seen 2 and 1. I've never seen 4 and
yeah,
1.
it was crazy.
Yeah,
The thing about Kansas City to think about though, you start to wonder if it's a bit fatigue, right? They've been up here for a while, and they haven't looked the greatest, but they made it back to the Super Bowl. They beat the 49ers. They beat them in overtime.
and they did not look great getting back to the
Exactly.
Super Bowl.
Last year they
Right.
did not, and they got blown out.
Right.
It becomes fatigue. Mahomes has been at the top of his game for a while, but again, every game is a Super Bowl for the other team. Kelsey's got all this other shit going on, and he's planning his life after football. He does not seem like the same player. I'm not saying that the Giants are great at tight ends. I understand that. But he has not been the same player for the last season and a half for
Yeah,
sure.
but if Bobby Okereke's covering him, I'm
No,
not.
I get that, but I'm just talking about the Chiefs.
Yeah,
Chiefs.
yeah.
They've got issues with Rashid Rice and his suspension, and Worthy's been injured, and so they're just not the same team that they were a few years ago. If the Giants are going to beat them, this is the game that you're going to beat them in. You're coming off a game where your offense actually finally did
Right.
something, and they're struggling. You're home. They're on the road, and by the way, they have a big game next week. They play the Ravens next week, so the
Yeah,
Chiefs
but they got to win this game, John.
well, I understand that again, but I mean,
if
this is what I
Chiefs,
said before.
remember
Teams
when
have
you did the
big games.
preseason, your chart, you had your beautiful little
That's
chart
what I was
out
saying.
there.
Yeah.
I think you were assuming, as a lot of people would have, that there was a good chance the Chiefs would have been 2-0 coming into this game, and then the Chiefs were primed for a letdown against the Giants.
Sure, I was not counting on them
who
being
they
there
were
too.
playing. But the problem is now they're 0-2. If the Chiefs lose this game is critical for there's no way there's a letdown here for the Chiefs. They
Oh,
can't.
sure, but again, what I'm saying is these other teams all have big games against the Giants. Are not anybody's big game. Now the Chiefs have to win. Well, so do the Giants, though. That's the point, though. That you have to win this game. This is your home stadium.
Right.
Kansas City's coming into this game. They want to play better. They want to win. I don't know that they're looking at the Giants going, we just got to crush these guys and we're moving on to Baltimore. They might already be thinking ahead. Either way, it doesn't matter. Other teams have big games. The Giants have to do something because you can The back half of the season, when people say, where could the Giants get wins? There are games down the road that are winnable with the way things have already started, with injuries that have happened to other teams. But if you're out of it 4 games in, it won't matter. And that's the problem we've always had. Those games we win later didn't mean as much because you were already out of it. Giants have to win this game.
What's
Period.
going to be weird for the new players, the rookies and the team, the players that came to the Giants in the offseason through free agency is going to be this. They're going to be like, wow, I've never been to a Giants home game before. I've seen comments from the rookies saying, oh, it's going to be so exciting to be in front of the home crowd. I can't wait. I don't think they know what the home crowd's going to be like on Sunday night. It's going to be a really weird, like you said, it's going to be maybe half the fans might not be Giants fans. It might be a bunch of Kansas City fans, but other people that are just there just to be there. Like, you remember when you went to Dallas and you said there were San Francisco 49er fans?
Yeah, right in my row. There was 2 of them.
I think there could be like all these like weird, like half the people there might not be rooting for the Giants, and the fans might be ready to boo that are there might be ready to boo at any minute. So somebody like Cam Scattaboo or Jackson Dart might be like, what the hell is going What's going on?
If I'm the Giants and I win the toss, I take the ball. I want the ball first. And if I'm Daboll, I tell my team ahead of time, if we win the toss, we're taking the ball. Why? Because I want what we started in the second half of that Dallas game. I'm telling my team, I expect that carried over here. I want the ball, and I want to go after them right off. Don't go defense, because right away, if this was the Giants of the 80s, then I absolutely go defense right away. Yeah, send LT, send Banks, send those guys. We'll show you. This isn't the same thing yet. Our offense needs to come right back. Show Kansas City you're not afraid of them. We're going after you. We'll take the ball. We're coming after you. They won't, but that's what I would do.
Yeah. Well, it keeps coming down to me to like Shane Bowen versus Andy Reid and Brian Daboll against Steve Spagnuolo. That's my problem with this game too, is the coaching difference. So we'll see. They can win. I'm not expecting it. I just hope, again, it wasn't embarrassing a loss against Dallas. It was just heartbreaking. It wasn't embarrassing.
It was a better way to say it.
It was at least a good game. The opener was embarrassing. The second game wasn't embarrassing. I hope this is not embarrassing. I hope they can find a way to steal this game. It'd be great if they came out and just kicked ass and it wasn't even close, but I don't know, that's not going to happen, but we'll see. I expect them to be 0-3. I hope I'm wrong, and you and I are celebrating and coming on here, and then you and I are going, oh gosh, if there's a way that they can be 2-3 after these first 5 games, that would be something. So we'll see. It's not impossible for them to win. It's just they've got to prove it to me before I'm going to be like,
right. That's the thing. I think that's a great way of saying it. Until they do, we just have to keep going into it. We can say what could happen, and that's kind of where I guess I come in, is this is what could happen. These are the things to look at. But until they win, it ultimately just is words out into the world, and we hope that it manifests itself on the field. But they've got to win a game, and you got to win it at home.
Yeah, I just want to be excited about something. I'm just so tired of watching other, today I'm going to go mow the yard, and then I'm going to turn on the college games, and I'm tired of looking at college players for the draft in September. It's like, I don't want to be doing this. This sucks. I just want to be, anyways, I'm a football fan. I want the Giants to do well, please.
So for those who, if you do watch it again later, or anybody else later, whatever, I will put this up on Spotify and stuff a little bit later this afternoon. I'm not going to do it immediately, but I will get to it, and it'll be up today. Subscribe, all that good crap, and let's hope for a win. I some positivity out of this for sure, and who knows? I mean, one way or another, I think we're going to go in a direction. It'll either be Jackson Dart or Russell Wilson's going to continue to show that he has some gas left in the tank, and the Giants are going to keep going.
There's going to be a moment where we're going to have an Abdul Carter coming out party.
Yes.
There is going to be a moment where people are going to go, whoa, and it's going to be one of these games. So maybe it's this week. So that one of these times we're going to come on here, we're going to be like, Abdul Carter took over this football game. So
there we go. We go. From your mouth to God's ears. Let's go. Let's do this. So subscribe. We're going to end it here, and we'll catch you again real soon.